The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by Sidebar, its guests, callers, and advisors are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS Verizon Media Group. Sidebar, a 103.5 The Beat podcast, is a production of ILTV Studios and may not be reproduced or represented, in part or in its entirety, without the express written consent of Verizon Media Group. Sidebar is the intellectual property of Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2024. All rights reserved.
I hate is a strong word, but I hate all of the political songs I've heard this go around so far. Maybe there's a good one out there somewhere hidden away. But for me personally, I feel like there is just a lack in something. There was a time where, welcome to Sidebar, 103 The Beat podcast powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. Anyway, there was a point in time where when you hear a political jingle, a political song, it was a jingle enough that it stuck inside your head, all right? And so you know that there are some songs that are so deeply ingrained inside in your heart and your spirit that you almost feel a part of the family of the store. You feel like you're one of them, all right? There are songs that I remember from my childhood that when I think back to, like the Town Center Mall song, I don't know the words because I was so young when I used to play it. It was like, Town Center Mall, Town Center, Town Center, that, right? That takes me back to a time when you could actually go to the gas station with $1. You wouldn't get a full tank, but you'd get something. Right now, if you give, it was a safer time. Hot Potties was 85 cents. You could buy an apple pie for, I think it was also 85 cents. Everything was 85 cents, right? That's what hearing that takes me back to. And it's a phantom song in the back of my head. Same thing with Celebrate by the National Youth Choir or what's the other one? The Mahatma Rice song. You guys know the song. Anyway, these things are stuck inside our head. And if somebody were to start singing it, we could sing along. I want you to sing, and this doesn't apply to the diehard. So, of course, the diehard PLPs, they know whose war rooms they're in, and so they can sing that song. The diehard F&Ms, they know who war rooms they're in, so they could sing their person's song. But I want them to sing an actual song from anyone else. Give me 3. It's so many. We have, it's going to be like 42 seats. We should be overwhelmed with music. And it's not like this is something hard or something. And I know you're saying, Stephen, this is not a big important. It's important to me. It's important to me for various reasons. One of which being, what exactly is happening? Is it a failure of investment in culture? Is it a failment of, is it like remember when they had the lawn signs the last go around and clearly the same person it was clearly a limited number of people who got the contract for the signs because it's like, oh, I guess we're doing lawn signs now, right? It was just, they were everywhere. They are still knocking around in some of these bushes. It feels like that. Maybe somebody was like, they got a big contract from one or both of the political parties and they're just churning out music, but it feels all the stuff that I've heard feels mediocre. I could be wrong, but that's how I feel about it. And I lay at your feet. For example, I know you might say to yourself, hey, Shoe Village ads have a benefit because people like shoes. People like to wear shoes. Shoes are helpful. And people don't have the same positive view of government or politicians. And so singing the Shoe Village, shoes for all, is different than singing whatever song the various parties. I don't even know if like COI and the other independent persons have songs. I almost said the wrong word just now. But my question is, so when I was a child, there were songs that were sung for political persons that still stick to my head. And I'm not talking about, listen, I understand that R. Kelly carried the PLP for a very long time. I'm not talking about songs that people wrote for something else and have been transposed. Same thing with the Tina Turner Simply the Best. That's clearly not written for the former Prime Minister Hubert Alexander Ingram, but it has now been associated with him. So it'd be very weird to play that. Like, so if a DJ played that at a PLP rally, it's like, whoa, are we trying to sneak this somebody? But anyway, when it comes to actual songs written for the purpose to get a particular message forward, where are those? So when I was a kid, I remember it was the 97 election. I'm certain that the PLP had a song, but the song that stuck with me and with, I have to say us, because my contemporaries, my classmates, we were singing this song unprovoked. Nobody was like, oh, sing the song or else. It was, better, better, gonna get better. Better, better, gonna get better. It sounded better than this because it's like a little Goombay calypso thing going on. Better now and better to come when the F and M went too straight. That was a thing. I remember that song. And I remember like there at one point, because you know kids are, we like to push boundaries and challenge norms and stuff. And so the same way you change a Christmas song to be about Batman and the Joker getting run over, they would add too late for too straight. Now, for those of you who are not students of history, you will know famously that it was not too late for too straight. The F&M won in 92, the Alta won in 97. And as a result, Long Island now has electricity. So does Auckland. But that's the past. That's literally going on 30 years ago. What we are talking about right now, right, is that song has stuck with me all this time. Another song that stuck with me is when I was in high school, which would have been 2002, so I'd have been in grade 11, right? I is F&M, I is South Beach, I for Tanya. People would say that unprovoked. She didn't win the seat, but it stuck in your head. And to this day, like, oh, I remember that song. And that song put her in our periphery, even though we were kids. None of us could vote. I think I was 14. Like, I was I couldn't drive. But anyway, I could barely catch the bus by myself. The whole point is, all right, that song stuck in my head. And hold on, I think, because there were other songs as well. Okay, 2002. 2002, we have, and 2002 is perfect because now we have a thing where it's like, okay, on one hand, we have the F&M. They've been in power, 92, 97. Ingram steps down. Orville Thomas Turnquest is now the leader of the party, right? And he is being pushed as the possible prime minister. And so the problem is, until this point, I don't think that the public knew him the way that everybody else knew him. And so he more or less needed to be introduced to the public, all right? Now, probably a great guy. They made the mistake of not, well, the song what they sung, I feel did more harm than good. That Tommy T and Me song, you remember Tommy T, Tommy T, Tommy T and me? Now here's the problem. That was a grown man. But calling him Tommy T, the only Tommy that I know besides him is the one from Rugrats. They made him, they made him seem like he was a kid. He was a grown man. He was an adult human being who had more than enough life experience to do whatever he needed to do to be in the position he was in. But hearing him named Tommy T, and the only thing I know about him is that he is the son of the Governor General, and my mind has not wrapped my mind has not wrapped itself around the idea that at that point, Orville Turnquest was very old. But he seemed average age compared to all the other people who were still in power. And so now they try to bring his son on board, and it's like, oh, this young boy or whatever. And once again, still couldn't vote at that point, but I would hear that. And as a kid, I was like, he's not going to win because everybody thinks he's a kid and they're afraid to turn over the reins of power to a kid. If Ingram had stayed on for a third term, he would have probably gotten it. But he wanted to be a man of his word. It's like 2 terms, I'm out. I don't want to make the same mistake as my political father did and stay around too long. So we have the Tommy T and Me song. Inversely, or conversely, on the other side, I remember one song from the PLP. I think it was sung by, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Christian Massive, Spy, Ken. Bring the water out the torch, tell the FNM we can't take it no more. Now, at this point, the PLP has been in the wilderness for this long period of time. Now, I don't think that song did as well as even the Tommy T song, but it was looking at the songs that pointed me to something else, which is actually what I want to talk about today. I don't want to talk about how we failed at culture and AI music should not be allowed inside political campaigns. I don't want to talk about how it should be mandated by law that if you are running a political campaign, or at least by force, by heavily suggestion, like if you are running a political campaign, that all of your content needs to be coming from within the Bahamas. It don't matter. Yeah, everybody who's editing your stuff, shooting your stuff, who is laying out these flyers for you guys, everything that can be done in the Bahamas should be done within the Bahamas, including the music. And so that whole people using it's just, I don't like it. But anyway, that's me personally. That's a personal thing. That's not what we're talking about. What I want to talk about is I realized that sometimes the push was a response to something as opposed to an actual plan. And that's it. So I'm going to tell you what the thesis is. I'm going to tell you what the conclusion that I've already come to and that we will arrive to in 35 minutes from now. I don't think it's enough to not be the PLP. I do not think that is enough to warrant support. And while internally the various parties may feel or decide amongst themselves that they have a plan and they're doing this and they're doing that, the articulation of such a thing, 'tis failing. And it fails everybody. It even fails the PLP because you only get better when you have good competition. But we're going to come back to that. We're going to take a quick break. You are watching and listening to Sidebar 103 The Beat podcast powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sidebar, 103 The B podcast, powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. If I could sum up what the topic is today, it is along the lines of, if you are responding, you are not in control of the conversation. And how that is damaging us as a country, and how that is damaging us, how it's damaging us as a country, all right? And how it's damaging our progress. Now, for better or for worse, historically, every single political party in this country that has seen any level of success, because there have been things that were called political parties prior to, but the ones who have seen success, every single political party that's seen success within this country at any level has been a response to the PLP and its existence. That's just a matter of historical fact, all right? The PLP is the first political party. It is through that formation that we end up with the UBP as a response. Now, the UBP's point is to maintain the status quo, to keep things how it is, all right? And to figure that, and for a while, it worked, because the PLP was formed in the 50s, and they didn't gain power till 67. So clearly, it worked for a while, for a couple of cycles. But the PLP was not a response. So while the initial formation of the PLP was a response to the Bay Street Boys, to the oligarchs that controlled the country at the time, primarily white merchants of Bay Street. While that was the reason initially, it is in saying, okay, this is what we want to do, and their messaging changing from, well, give and take, change, but their messaging, at least, you know what, not changing, including, that's a better word, including this idea of Bahamianization and Bahamian pride. And we being an independent country, we're going to set the stage on the global stage. We're going to put ourselves on the map. That becoming the message. All right. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I pretend as though there was not a whole thing where halfway through it's like, we just need to remind them that, hey, we ain't those evil white people. And remember, watch Roots. We need to watch Roots on reruns. Everybody needs to remember how bad, at some points in history, white people have treated black people. That did happen. But here's the thing. Once you start including other people in your conversation, that's when you start losing the conversation, all right? If you're going to go talk to a gal, why are you talking about an axe to it? Why are you there saying, oh, yeah, babe, me, I taller than Nato, you know. And Nato, like, he have some money, right? He have some money. But my money, I have a different type of money. I don't have as much as them. I have some money. Why are you talking about another dude if the gal listening to you? And so as soon as you do that, and you don't come to her and saying, I could show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, princess, now when did you last let your heart decide? I could open your eyes. I don't got to talk about how to do it. Me and her having a conversation. I'm telling her the plan. I'm showing her the world. In 92, there was already people getting tired, and they just want change. They want something different, all right? There was a lot of that. But you also have to appreciate that by the time we get to 97, we see that there was a plan in place. There was the country, it didn't pivot completely, but it pivoted significantly enough that things changed, because we get the Immovable Properties Act in that first Ingram administration, which allowed us to have these large spaceship-looking hotels all over the country, right? That brings in a certain level of money. That brings in a certain level of, I wouldn't say wealth, but access. So now Bahamians from the middle class or from the working class, there's no such thing as the middle class, Babies from the working class can aspire to better. They can get these jobs that are well-paying and as secure as a government job. And so they're able to do different things. And so we have that influx from the Atlantis. And now, when 97 comes around, and I think better, better was a tourism slogan anyway, or it's better in the Bahamas was already a tourism slogan. So now, when the song comes out and it says better, better, gonna get better, better now and better to come, when the F&M went too straight, nowhere in that does it say we can't go back to the PLP. We're not acknowledging our past at all. This is about me and you. Baby, and I treat you good? I treat you good, baby. Babe, you think this Christmas, babe, you think Valentine's Day is dread? Babe, wait till you see what they apply for you Christmas, girl. Babe, oh my, babe, anyway, you wait till Christmas? I wouldn't, why are you going to somebody and going to say to them, hey, I know Valentine's Day, like I only to get one bottle of wine. But you know, if I had the money, I'd get the bucket of chicken to go with it. But you know how things was, so we had to eat noodles with the wine. But don't go back to your ex, please. Don't do that, because I love you. What are you doing? That doesn't make any sense. You stop bringing people in the conversation. Control the conversation. What are you responding to? All right? And that's from a position of power. And so 97, F&M win. There is no, and once again, this is not to say, because I was a kid at the time, but if you could convince a kid of your politics without you being related to the kid, then I feel like you have effectively, that's a broad enough message that everybody from every age group and every educational background could get. Because if I could get that at, I think I was 10. Was I 10 in 90? I was 10 in 97. So like, if I could get that at 10 years old, and I understand that song, and that's how, and at no point I was like, well, what the PLP say? Don't even know. Don't even know. Couldn't tell you to save my life. All right? I was convinced that's the broad type of messaging, and that is the, I'm only focused on you, and here's the plan, and this is what we're going to do. It's better now, better to come. That's all we're doing. This whole thing where you are responding to what somebody else has said, and now they are allowed to respond back. All that, we're not. So the problem with that is, if I'm in this back and forth with you, oh, I used to do it better, I do this better, oh, blah, blah, blah. We're not moving anywhere. And no one's moving anywhere. And the relationship isn't moving, the country isn't moving, we're not moving, because we are sitting here and saying, well, don't go back to these people. Or, inversely, conversely, diversely, or you need to come back home to us. Those people, they don't treat you good. We could treat you better than them. That's a conversation involving 3 people, and only 2 people are talking. And so we're not going to move that conversation forward. What needs to be happening is, where are the conversations and the straightforward, solution-oriented conversations that are telling us, hey, let me tell you where we're going. Let me tell you how we can get there. Because that's what I want. All right? I do not want just every time the PLP say they do something good, the response is, oh, well, I don't know if it's really good. And here's the thing. If you're listening to this and you are a member of the Progressive Liberal Party, you should not want this either. Without a strong opposition, without an actual opposition, you will be limited in terms of ideas and strategy. Better ingredients means a better pizza, all right? You need that pushback. You need someone to say, I don't think that the way that you're going about with VAT is the best solution. You should employ this. And then say it aloud to the public. Don't just say it once in the House of Assembly knowing that nobody can hold you to it. You say that's what you should be campaigning on. This is how we are going to fix this. Because here's the thing. If you say it aloud, or if they say it aloud, then whoever the incumbent party is in this situation, the POP, they can look at it and they say, you know what, that's not a bad idea. We can implement that. Or we thought about that, but here's the reasons why we didn't do it, and we're going in this direction. I don't think that that is happening. And I do understand that for the most part, politics is a very emotional game. You got to hype people up, and it's difficult to hype people up with charts and graphs and different things like that. But the problem is, if the only thing that you have is a weird song where you remake a reggae song from the 80s, or you teach somebody's song and you slip your name in it, you figure out a way to slip Hana inside some song or whatever, right? If that's all you have, anybody can do that. That doesn't secure your position that you presently have. That doesn't secure the power that you presently wield. If you are not secure in the power, there's only so many things that you can do as a government. Because literally from the year 2002, we've been flip-flopping between F&M, POP, F&M, POP, F&M. Well, it was POP, F&M, POP, F&M, and now we're POP. We are at a precipice. But and you've heard the public say it a million times, they think the POP and the F&M are the same. Whether or not I agree with that doesn't matter. If the average person thinks that they're the same, then they're the same. And if only difference is, do I feel like spicy today, or do I feel like barbecue? Do I feel like sour cream and onion, or do I feel like nacho ranch? I don't think that's a thing. But if it's just a matter of flavor, then there will be no level of security in terms of your place in the power structure. And if there is none of that, the bigger problem is going to be you cannot make big, bold choices because you don't have the confidence that you will be able to complete it. You cannot make a 10-year plan if you feel like you might only be there for 5 years. You cannot make a 20-year plan if you feel like you only can be there for 5 years, and then after 5 years, they can stop it. And that's where we stand right now, where every 5 years, any actionable plan is put to a stop. But that's because whatever dream, whatever plan, whatever goal, whatever giant, magnificent, shining, shimmering, splendid, under, sideways, and under, I think, on a magic carpet ride, a whole new world. I'm singing a whole new world. Whatever version of that you had gets put on hold because you are no longer in power, and now we want to put our stamp on something, or we want to double check you're working. You don't have that issue when you have a level of security, but the only way to have a level of security is that you got to convince the voters that you have a plan and that you're not just responding to noise. If you're just responding to noise, then you do not have control over the conversation. If you're just responding to noise, you do not have control over the conversation. Every time somebody coughs, you got to release an 8-minute voice note, might be a problem. Every time somebody says, when you guys were in power, you got to run to the media, pretend curse, and then realize you can't say the whole thing because it can make you look worse then the person who you trying to curse out and you don't have no seat, stop. Stop responding. Give us the plans. For everybody is going to get the people who've already committed to them. But that's not how elections are won. Elections are won by the people floating around in the middle. What's the plan? For the incumbents, for the POP, I would expect them to be going around and saying, this is what I've done, or this is what we've done in the past 4 years, 4.5 years. And this is where we are taking you. Point at something good and then say, you think that good? Wait till. And point to the good thing. Inversely, conversely, reversely, the F&M, I expect to hear from them, hey, this is what the country needs. This is what the country has lacked. This is where we're taking the country. Once the country is in our control, we are planning this. And it has to be actionable, tangible things that people can hold on to and say, okay, I get that. You know what I mean? Now, don't promise everybody $100,000, but actionable things. Now, here's the thing. COI, the reason why they have this odd, very scary level of ground support is because making a promise like that, $100,000 for every Bahamian, is actionable. It's a tangible thing. I can envision that. $100,000, I can start counting that. I can say how that will change my life. At the very least, as a down payment on something. I can do something with my life. That changes my life significantly. I might be able to quit my job and start a business. $100,000 for every Bahamian is an actionable, hold-on type situation. Is it feasible? I don't think so, but I'm not an economist. Is it possible? I also don't think so. Once again, not an economist. And for legal reasons, I have to pretend as though the answer isn't no. But if you're COI, and the thing is, sadly, I think they're doing it and they're also doing the reverse of it. Because on one hand, they are constantly trying to agitate, and they take every instance to combat with the PLP and the F&M, all right? So if they can put together a protest at a time that is inconvenient, they do it because then it draws attention of the media. Now, when the media's there, you put on your good voice, you pretend as though you're only there to, defend the rights. Let me not say pretend. You're there to defend the rights and privileges of Bahamians. I took it back. Don't call Urca. All right? Ignoring all the things that you scream when the cameras aren't rolling. But what they leave the audience with is, this is where we're taking the country. Now, you could agree with where they say they're going. Maybe it's where you want to go. Maybe it's not. They say the things that make people say, I see their plan. Some people have seen the plan, and it concerns them greatly. Some people have seen the plan, and they said, that's what I've been trying to figure out how to say, but I wasn't able to articulate it. But they're doing it. And what frightens me is, better ingredients means better pizza. If they are the opposition for whomever, I do worry where it might lead us. But with that said, you can't knock the hustle. They may not have the songs, but they have a plan, a concerning plan, some would say. But all that is, you cannot keep responding to someone and think you are controlling the conversation. And the only way for me to hear what you're talking about is if you controlling the conversation. So I desperately need everyone, independents, persons in fringe parties, even the people in the COI, people who've been kicked out of the COI, people in the FNM, people in the PLP. Everyone who is going, independents, did I say independents? I think I said it at the beginning. Anyone who is going to be running, control the conversation. I want to hear the best argument. I want to know the plan and how involved in them I am. That's all I want. But that's Stephen. And once again, politics is an emotional game. So maybe you just need to whip people up into a feather. That's going to backfire when, and so this is the last bit on this, right? It backfires when you realize that everybody who is not the PLP was waiting for the PLP to make some big blunder. And then the plan was going to be, we're not the PLP. But the PLP has not made a giant blunder. And so now, as we edge closer and closer to election, the only question that needs to be answered is, what is your plan? And you know what else? I take back what I said in the first segment. Perhaps it is best that all the political songs suck, because that tells me that everybody's going to blow it on emotion. We will not be tricked this time by any party by wonderful dance and song numbers. We're not going to be tricked by any of that stuff. It's clearly going to have to be information, and I welcome the information. We're going to take a quick break and come right back. You are watching and listening to Sidebar, a 103 The Beat podcast powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. We'll be right back.
Not too much water. Hit it down. Let's go.
It's the Bounce Back 150K payday. Big wins for 10 weeks straight. 15K every week. 10K to a lucky winner. Visit islandluck.com for more info. Island Luck. Winners live here.
Welcome to Paradise Premium Foods, where exceptional taste meets everyday convenience. Right in the heart of Hurricane Hole Plaza, whether you're planning a beachside brunch, an intimate dinner, or simply restocking your favorites, we offer only the finest selection of local and imported goods, handpicked for quality, freshness, and flavor. At Paradise Premium Foods, shopping is effortless, service is personal, and every visit feels like a treat. From gourmet meals to go to organic essentials and indulgent treats, this is your neighborhood market elevated. Live well, eat better. Discover Paradise Premium Foods, now open at Hurricane Hole Plaza, Paradise Island. Paradise Premium Foods. Taste the difference.
Welcome back to Sidebar, a 103 The Beat podcast powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. You know what occurs to me, right? That every Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to have a political party, and even to the point of it being ironic, because if you are independents and you're forming a coalition, you don't need to make a party called the Coalition of Independents because you're no longer independent. You're towing a party line. A coalition of independents would be great in the real world, because then they would make decisions based on what they feel is the right thing for the country, as opposed to, well, this is the direction the party told me to go in. And so it's super ironic. But everybody wants to start a party if they're not a part of the existing parties. They're like, oh, I'm going to start a women's party, or the Christian Life Alliance party, or the birthday party. It's just a bunch of parties. And the problem with each of these is that they're all responses to something. And so they try to come up with cool names, right? And they're like, this name will spell out what we do and what we are, and it'll sound political and it'll be cool on the grand stage. And like, no, nobody cares. So you're losing valuable daylight. You're losing time having to explain over and over to people. Well, my part, I don't even remember what BDM stands for, Bahamas Democratic Movement. Anyway, but once again, and I probably could, I feel like I should be able to speak freely about the BDM. Their leaders now with the FNM, all right? But the BDM, Bahamas Democratic Movement, would imply as though there was a lack of democracy in the country. No, the Bahamas are still democratic. So, I don't remember what CDR meant. But whatever it was, didn't help them to win. Why are we making new parties? When you make a party, and this is all to all the fringe party people, every time I see a new party, the only thing I think is this person has unlimited ego because they want to be the leader of something. They don't aspire to improve their immediate vicinity. They don't aspire to improve the lives of any individuals. What they aspire to is one day be in the House of Assembly leading a group of people and having that level of power. Now, maybe they have grand dreams for how to fix the Bahamas, but I don't think that if your dreams only work if you're on the top, then you should wake up. If your dreams can't work from the bottom up, I mean, you should probably wake up anyway, because a dream is a dream. You got to have an action and a plan. Anyway, I'm sick and tired of new parties. I don't think we need any new parties. If you cannot find a party that aligns with your ideologies and your conscience, then there's no need to start a new party. If anything, what I would say is if you were so inclined because you're like, well, I don't want to name it after myself, or I don't want to use my name because I'm not that type of person, but I just want, this would prove to me, and it would tell me in an instant what your goals and what your plan is to and for. Let's say you lived in a constituency called St. Elizabeth. I don't think that's a real constituency. I hope it's not. So I don't offend anybody. But you would start a party called the St. Elizabeth Party. This party has no aspirations to run the country. St. Elizabeth Party is concerned about the residents of St. Elizabeth. And you know what? They only got to worry about the residents of St. Elizabeth. Only them voting for them. And so every dime from the coffers, from the donations that the St. Elizabeth Party gets, can go directly into the community. We don't have to print out, let's see if we can get 50,000 shirts. No, I don't even give us shirts. I could go around door to door. I could bless people every day in the St. Elizabeth Party. And the St. Elizabeth Party, what's the issue? Oh, you feel like this portal is the issue? The St. Elizabeth Party is going to make sure that gets addressed. Is the issue all this bush, or there's not a community garden, or some of the houses, they getting old and the old people don't be able to go and paint it themselves no more like when they was young? The St. Elizabeth Party would deal with the community issues, and they could go corner to corner because the way constituencies are, somebody would live in one area and their concerns are more cerebral because they have the money and the material good to keep their house in order and to take care of themselves and feed themselves, so they're not worried about that stuff. They're like, well, what is your position on marital rape? What is your issue? What is your position on bringing forth this type of law into, not cabinet, because, it'd just be you, into the House of Assembly? But on the other hand, on the next corner, you'll have somebody barely can pay their bills, struggling to put food on the table, all right? If you are focused on just this area, and this thing, the St. Elizabeth Party doesn't even have to run in the election. What I'm talking about is you start a community group. That makes me believe that you actually care. Start a community group within that community and just focus on that. That would convince me that you are not actually out here just trying to be cool. You have dreams of one day riding a Bentley and being the prime minister of the country and you want to speak on the green marble wall at the UN. We all have dreams. But what I got to do with me? I just want to know the plan that you have for me and my community. And so I say this to all of the persons who are about to throw $400 in the air and have none of it returned to them. What reason are you doing this for? What actual change do you think you could make? Because if you could make change, and don't get me wrong, sometimes you need independence, sometimes you need a new party, but only if there's an actual plan and goal and reason for it beyond I want to be leader. But the truth is, if you are an independent and you were able to win your seat in the House of Assembly, whatever changes that you're able to make as an independent in the House of Assembly, you could make them outside of the House of Assembly without going through an election. Because you would still have to beg, barter, and borrow to get things for your community done and addressed. You'd still have to work with whomever the government is. If you join the said government, then you're just a part of the political party. So just join them in the first place. The whole, what are you doing it for? If you want to make actual, and this is part of, honestly, I think this is part of the reason why the messaging is so all over the place. I don't think that everybody who is running knows what the plan is, has a plan, or has seen the plan. There may be a plan, but they're not in the same room as it. If you don't have a plan, we're going to be able to tell because you never talk about it. You never, But what do I know? I'm not an economist. They do great in elections. They don't. Anyway, this has been Sidebar. Next week, we're going to be in a different location. Fingers crossed. Anyway, this has been Sidebar, 103 to Be podcast, powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna, True God Still.
Once something becomes the common behavior, it is the common behavior. When you operate at that level, personal emotions simply cannot float to the top.
For the average normal person that goes to the store, things like that affect us.
They must be judicious in the execution of their duty.
Well, I think whatever the nurses want, give it to them. Hedges, you know, you do everything on your phone now. You see how old he is?
What are we walking back? That Bimini is no longer an island?
That's
okay,
not
because
what he was trying
because
to
he also.
say. Carla, I don't even know what red basket is anymore either. What do y'all people say?
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?